Welcome along to another edition of Matchbook's Weekend Football Podcast. Interesting couple of days ahead, as ever, in the Premier League. We'll get into that. Joined this morning, live on Matchbook's Twitter and YouTube channels, by the ever-present Adrian Clarke, who's looking very comfortable today in his new setup. I like it, Adrian.
I've relocated. Yeah, we got workmen coming in the room next to where I normally operate. So, yeah, look, it's a little bit more luxurious, to be honest. So hopefully it'll bring us some luck today.
Like it. Also joined by a new face and a new voice on the Matchbook Betting Podcast, standing in for his We Love Betting cohort, Mark O'Hare. I won't give the game away why Mark's not here, but if you follow him on Twitter, you'll know him. We'll give Mark plenty of juice next week. Tom Love, how are you, bud?
Yeah, very well, thank you, Sully. Delighted to be on. Big shoes to fill, obviously, with Mark. So hopefully going to be kind of following in his footsteps, providing some insight, and hopefully a few winners.
Quick question: are you really into the Norwegian Elite Serien as well?
Well,
just Mark.
No. I'm all over that as well. Was watching the big one yesterday, Molde versus Bodo Glimt.
Bodo Glimt, yeah, saw that.
We won the unders there, so yeah, good game, good league.
Good to know there's two of them in it, Adrian. That's good to know. Adrian, very quick recap on last week. Obviously, there was a bit of regression from the previous week where we had like 7 winners out of 8. Yeah. Your best bet, the Man City under 4.5 at Brighton. Like, let's be honest, buddy. You backed that again 10 times out of 10, wouldn't you? That was one of the worst bad beats.
Oh yeah, it was cruel, wasn't it? 95th minute goal. Was it Riyad Mahrez right at the end there? They'd had the game wrapped up. It was not an issue. Look, it turned out more open than we expected. Brighton got picked off with more regularity, but yeah, even so, under 4.5 should have come in that game. So yeah, bit of a choker, but we go again.
We absolutely do go again. Just before we get into this week's games, we're going to cover Manchester United's trips to North London to take on Tottenham, Aston Villa versus West Ham. Bless you, Adrian. Leicester, Arsenal, Wolves, Everton. The guys have 3 EFL bets, and we'll do best bets as well. Before I get into that, there's a brand new sign-up offer available at matchbook.com. Pretty good one, 15 quid risk-free offer. When you sign up, use the bonus code INSIGHTS, and a bit of a difference here to the previous one. Use the letters RF. So INSIGHTS RF. INSIGHTS RF, Romeo Foxtrot, to avail of this offer. So yeah, if you place a bet and it loses, you get 15 quid back as cash. Not too shabby at all. All right, plenty to get through, guys. So let's tear into it right from the start. The first game we're going to look at is already aforementioned. Tom, you're new to this, but Manchester United, we have a lot of opinions here. Very interested to get your take on this new voice. And I'll start with you here. We'll take a look at the betting. First of all, you can back Spurs at home at 3.05, 2.44. You can back United. The draw available at 3.7. Tottenham getting a quarter of a goal start at 1.86. And 2 3/4 is the main total. Tom, in terms of a bet in this one, we'll get into maybe discussing who's potentially the better side here, because I don't know, both of them, to my mind, are pretty useless at the moment. But you fancy within that it'll be a low-scoring affair?
Yeah, that's what I've settled on in the end. I just think this is one of them games where you want to back against both sides if you can. Both just in bad moments at the minute. And yeah, whenever you get 2 managers like Nuno and Ole both under plenty of pressure, I think it usually lends itself to a low-scoring game. I think both managers will be happy if it's a low-margin game. I think a draw would probably suit both. I think if you offered them the draw, I think that's trading around 3.7, which actually looks a bit big. I think if you're looking at one of the 3 in that market, I'd probably pump for the draw. But yeah, I'm going to go with under 3 on the Asian goal line here, which is around 1.7, a little bit short, but I think if you can get 1.7 or bigger, you're going to be taking that, because even if there's 3 goals, you're getting your money back. The only way you lose is if there's 4 goals. And even though United tend to be quite a high-scoring team away from home, I think that Spurs tend to sit back under Nuno. They'll try and soak up a bit of pressure and hit them on the break. I think that's how United want to play away from home a lot of the time as well. So I think both sides might cancel each other out here, and I think if you look at United this season, they've been a bit hit and miss for unders backers. But if you look at the games that went overs, Newcastle and Leeds, two of the worst defences in the league. So no surprise there that them games went over. And the Leicester and Liverpool games where they conceded 4 and 5, they're against two very attack-minded managers, two strong attacks. So every other game has gone unders, and I think that this is one of them games where it might lend itself to quite a low-scoring game. Just move on to Spurs. They're looking pretty poor in the final third. I think we can all tell that under the more pragmatic Nuno. They've scored under 2 goals in 7 of their 9 games, so they're really struggling to kind of put teams to the sword. The 13th for XG ratio, but that actually drops to 16th when you're looking at home data. Having said that, they have played City and Chelsea, haven't they, at home? So that might be a bit of a factor, but United are 10th for XG ratio away from home. So if you're looking at the respective home and away data, they're both posting negative XG ratio. So it's two teams that really should be doing much better than they are. But yeah, I am kind of buying into the narrative a bit here that both managers are under pressure. It's going to lend itself to quite a tight game. And the under 3 goals looks like a really solid angle.
Yeah, that's actually 1.73, Tom. That actually has dropped
nice.
Small bit since this morning, so it's not a bad bet. It's been basically 8 to 11 fractions. And Adrian Clarke, Tom touched on it there, even with Spurs, no team. I think they've only had, there's 3 games this year in the second half that they haven't registered a shot or an attempt on goal. That's disgraceful stuff, isn't it? It's not good enough.
It's not good. That is for sure. It is not good. Look, yeah, Tom's right. You can't back either team here. You can't trust them. They're just not playing well enough. It could go either way. So yeah, the draw would be of interest. Yeah, Spurs are caught between 2 stools, and they're not one thing or the other at the moment. They've created the second fewest number of chances in the Premier League. There's only one team, and that's Norwich, and we know how bad Norwich are. That have created fewer chances than Spurs. So this is a team that contains Kane and Son and Moura exactly. So it's not functioning. They used to be good on the counter. We know that under the previous manager. Not even good at that really anymore. I think there are only 3 teams that have had fewer direct attacks than Tottenham Hotspur so far this season. So yeah, they're evolving their style, but it's not conducive to great attacking football. That is for sure. Big reliance at the moment on Reguilon and Son down that left-hand side. If they're not making things happen, who is? As for United, I'm completely with Tom on this. I think I just can't see them being as calamitous 3 matches in a row. I mean, they were just annihilated. They were so shocking without the ball. You know, Maguire and Shaw in particular, just total stinkers. You can't have 3 in a row, surely. Surely it's time to batten down the hatches and make this a much tighter contest. You know, that said, you know, United haven't had a clean sheet since August, so they're not exactly watertight. But yeah, no, I can totally buy into the unders here. I think the line is a little bit high. United are bound to be damaged a little bit by those defeats, and for that reason, I think they'll be slightly more cautious. Spurs just are cautious or unimaginative, so throw it all together. I see quite a cagey game. I really do. So yeah, under 3 at that price definitely interests me.
Yeah, on United, of course, we backed Liverpool last week, but let's be honest, I don't think we saw the 5-0 coming. We didn't back the -2. We didn't back the -3, of course.
My suggestion was Liverpool plus Liverpool and over 1.5 goals, which you bombed me out on that one.
I did.
That was safe after a very short amount of time, wasn't it?
Yeah. For those who aren't watching, we did Liverpool draw no bet at 1.7. It was one of those bets that you knew after about 5 minutes that it was coming in, but you're like, oh, really? That we were that conservative? Mark's not here. We can just blame Mark on that one. Adrian, very quickly, I asked Jonathan Wilson this on the Champions League podcast a couple of weeks ago. Your own opinion. Does Ole see Christmas at Old Trafford?
No, I don't think so. No. They're just getting schooled, aren't they? Come up against two smart coaches in the last couple of weeks, and they've just ripped them rip them to shreds. You're getting one or two whispers now coming out of the training ground that he doesn't really do the coaching, and they're not happy with this or that. Players are actually using the word tactics openly. I think there's a little bit of frustration there. And look, if you're a Man United player, answer me this: if you're a Manchester United player, do you think that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is A, going to improve you as a player, and B, bring you the trophies that you crave in your career, like a Tuchel would, like a Pep would, like a Klopp would? Those three are the sort of guys that you're desperate to play for. I think the realization might have set in at Old Trafford that Ole's not quite going to deliver that for them, and when that happens, I think there's only one outcome, really.
You know what? We've touched on it, and we're not going to labor the point here because we have touched on it before. And it's happened when we just view Manchester United manager job as it's like a high profile CEO position. It's happened at different companies that you would have a kind of a CEO like Mourinho, who was a bit divisive and kind of maybe shattered a lot of the culture there at Carrington and the training ground with the other staff. Then you bring in someone, a stabilizing force, and he's brought them to a certain area, but no, he's not going to bring them to the new levels. And that's what it's very akin to. And it's no knock on the guy, but it's just, look, his previous jobs or whatever else. This is a big job. This is a huge job, So one of those things.
If they want to go to the next level, I think they'll need a Conte, or is it Dan? Somebody like that, I guess, would be the one to take them forward. Even if it's short term.
Yeah. All right. That's it. So under 3 is the play at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium on Saturday evening. 1.73, not a bad price. I'm just backing that now because the market seems to be shifting a small bit that way anyway. All right, so that is the bet for that one. We're going to move on next to Aston Villa against West Ham. I was impressed by West Ham on Sunday, I must admit. Adrian, I'll come to you first, but let's take a look at the betting. And this is your game of choice, Adrian, so you can kind of lead us away here. And this one, 2.86, you can back Villa. West Ham at 2.56, 3.6, you can back the draw. The draw no bet market is available at matchbook.com. Is 0.0 on site. And obviously West Ham slight favourites there at 1.82. 2.75 is the total. Adrian Clarke couldn't touch on it there. Halftime on Sunday, they were underdogs against Spurs. I couldn't really see it, and I wasn't even kind of thinking back to that whole, Tottenham are kind of, pretty woeful in the second half. But I still kind of get the sense that West Ham are small but underrated in the market, and there's still a bit of value to be had with them.
I agree. Yeah, I do. I think that they've won 2 bad matches. We thought that West Ham Spurs would be a better match than it was. Yeah. It wasn't great, nor was the win at Everton, but they were super professional, weren't they? And they did warrant the 3-point hauls on both occasions. For me, Declan Rice is just head and shoulders the best central midfielder in the country at the moment. Just in sensational form, and it's not just him, just as a team. They've got so much purpose about them. Good organisation levels as well, and they're not afraid of anyone. Early Moyes at West Ham, it was about damage limitation. It was about let's keep the score down. Now they believe, and we saw that. They held City and knocked them out of the Carabao Cup, which was just a treat for everybody, apart from City fans, wasn't it? Them getting knocked out last night on penalty. So that's how far they've come, and that was their B team, really, West Ham. So I really like them, and I also think that Antonio can hurt the Villa rearguard, they're not in good form.
No.
I mean, Tyrone Mings. I mean, he was minging. He really was the other night. he was having an absolute stinker. Konza, Twanzebe, Courtney Hawes probably escaped because he didn't play against Arsenal. But they're not playing well at the back at the moment. And in general, I was really unimpressed by Villa against Arsenal. I thought they looked a team that weren't really comfortable in their system. He changed it at half time, marginally better, but that wasn't clicking for them at the back, in midfield, or up front within Ings and Watkins. They're also really bad at corners. Obviously, Arsenal scored from a corner against Aston Villa. They've conceded 4 set piece goals, Villa, so far this season. And what are West Ham really good at? I mean, particularly when Cresswell is over the ball, it's corners and wide free kicks. So for me, West Ham are backable here. And the draw no bet, it just leapt off the page to me. Obviously Villa away is not easy, but it's no guarantees with that fixture. But looking at the form of both teams, I can absolutely see West Ham winning the game. At worst, I see them drawing. So it'd be a huge upset for me if Villa were to win this. So West Ham draw no bet for me at 1.82. Definitely taking that. In fact, I already have.
Yeah, I saw that. It went from 1.86 to 1.82. Stop moving markets, Age. It's not fair for the rest of them. Tom, you're in agreement on this one, then?
Yeah, I am very much aligned for very similar reasons, really. I think if you look at West Ham, they're still yet to lose away from home. They've only lost 2 games all season. They were both by the odd goal. One was that one against Manchester United, which I think was very harsh on West Ham. I think they deserved a draw there. And yeah, I completely agree. I don't think they're getting the respect that they deserve still. I think if you're getting them drawn or bet away at a pretty average side like Villa, you're going to be taking it all day long. As long as you've got that draw on side, it's a nice way to get with them. If you look at their data away from home, they're sitting 5th for XG ratio. They're creating a hefty 1.9 XG per game when on the road. So it's much better than what they're doing at home in terms of process, which is interesting. What I love about this side under Moyes is the balance. The balance about the squad. When you look at a side like Manchester United, who just have no balance whatsoever, this West Ham side are perfectly balanced, I think. They've got players who complement each other. They're physical, but they've got flair as well in Ben Rama, Fornals, Bowen. You've got someone direct there. And then you've got Antonio, who's one of the best strikers outside kind of the big 6, I think, in the league. A massive handful. So yeah, I think that they're more than good enough to get a result here, and I really like Zuma coming in at the back. I think he's just going to increase their quality defensively, and yeah, they've done really good stuff in the summer. So I'm a big fan of West Ham this season. Really like Moyes, and yeah, just on Villa, I completely agree with Adrian. That first half against Arsenal was one of the most insipid performances I've seen all season. I thought they were terrible, just pinned back by Arsenal. Usually Arsenal, they're a team that you can get at a little bit, but they didn't show any way of kind of shifting the style to try and kind of get on top of that game. They were just on the back foot from the get-go. They deserved the defeat, conceding 3.2 XG as well. And I'm be interested to get Adrian's view on them going to a back 5. I just don't understand why it's happened. I mean, I suppose it's because they've brought Ings in and they want to get Ings and Watkins as a 2 up front, but still kind of have some defensive solidarity. But it's just not working. No. I think they're much better in a 4. I think that the fullbacks still can get forward, and then you've got a Douglas Luiz who can kind of sit in when they do. I think there's much better balance about Villa when they do that. But the back 5 just isn't working for me. It's one of them signings, a bit like Ronaldo, where it can kind of just shift the balance of the team and kind of put them off. And yeah, it's obviously a good player, Danny Ings, a great goal scorer in the Premier League, but I just don't think that 5 at the back works for Villa.
No, I do agree. Yeah, very quickly. Yeah, I do agree. I think it's all about getting 2 up front, and I think he's not got that trust in his defenders to go with the 2 centre halves. He wants the security of 3, but when you've got Buendia and Bailey and El Ghazi and these guys that are all goal threats, I think it would be wiser to get an extra attacking player into the side personally. So yeah, I think 4-4-2 or 4-4-2 diamond might work well for them if they want the 2 of them together up top.
Yeah, let them play the 5 at the weekend. Now we don't really care for this one. West Ham minus 0.0. So obviously the guys reference their draw no bet, but that'll appear on Matchbook.com at 0.0, 1.82. And yeah, look, the market may just catch up on West Ham the next preceding weeks, but it hasn't at the moment. So let's maybe try to exploit that while we can. All right, next game we're going to look at is Leicester and Arsenal. It's the early kickoff on Saturday afternoon from the King Power. Adrian, I will start with you for this one. Good one for you, Adrian. You live in that area, and I'm
going.
Good man. 2 birds, 1 stone.
Normally, I have to do a go to work at Arsenal for the away games at Emirates, but I twisted somebody's arm and they let me go to the game.
Good man. Good man. 2 birds, 1 stone. Love it. React to the situation. All right, Leicester, you come back here 2.54. Arsenal at 2.98. The draw available at 3.6. Again, very similar to the previous game. Draw no bet is the main Asian handicap line at 0.0 on site. 1.8 you can back Leicester. 2.12 Arsenal and 2.75 is the main total and slightly shade towards the unders of 1.86. Adrian, you know this better than anyone. Arsenal are in terrific form of late, but you think they could be a bit vulnerable on Saturday?
Well, I just think it's a really hard game for them. I think it's a hard game to call full stop, really. Yeah, I found this quite a tricky one. Arsenal, brilliant against Villa, brilliant against Spurs. But in the other games, really, I mean, the standards haven't been remotely close to those. So I think you have to be a little bit cautious. Look, I hope Arsenal can carry it on and deliver a big performance. But they've failed to score in 3 of their 4 away games. The only goal they have scored on the road was at Burnley from a direct free kick, stuck in the top corner from Odegaard. So, they've not cut loose yet away from home. So until they do that, I think we have to be a little bit careful about backing them. I loved what Arteta did for the Villa game, going 4-4-2 and Lacazette and Aubameyang, excellent, up top together. And I think that can work when Lacazette drops in. And the wide men, Smith Rowe, who we associate with the 10 position, can absolutely play wide. Him and Saka, compact, going narrow to win interceptions, and then springing hard and fast. I mean, it reminded me of sort of Pires and Ljungberg those days. Arsenal compact with the ball, and then they exploded into life. So that's the system I want to see them playing moving forwards. Whether that happen or not, we'll have to wait and see, I guess. So yeah, caution on Arsenal. Leicester, I mean, this is the kind of game that goes overs. I think 7 of Leicester's last 8 games have gone over, and they've been both teams to score in both of those games. Looking back at last season, the top 8 at home, only 2 of 7 went under. So Leicester are normally involved in quite high-scoring games against the stronger teams in the league at the King Power, but I don't know. I just don't know. And Leicester have conceded, I think, the most shots. Yeah, the most shots from open play. Leicester City have conceded them more than Norwich, more than all of those other teams at the bottom end. So they've been a little bit porous. But I think it's a big game. Brendan Rodgers often rises to the occasion tactically. It was certainly not want to get beat. I just think this is going to be a really hard game for Arsenal. If Vardy's fit, he's in form. Daka's in good nick. Maddison's playing well. Tielemans is on fire. We've got a lot of forward players that are in good form. So, yeah, I think Arsenal will do very well to win the game. Personally, I think if they get a draw, that would be a decent result. So on the basis of all that, I've ended up on another draw no bet, but with a home side, Leicester City. I think it's quite a good price for Leicester City at home, 1.8 draw no bet. So, but because of Arsenal's record on the road, scoring once. Yeah, for me, Leicester almost always score at least once. I think every game so far, apart from one, they've scored in. So yeah, do we really think Arsenal are going to score 2 or 3 in this game? Recent history says maybe not. So yeah, I'm plump for Leicester draw no bet at 1.8. But I could see value in a goals angle too.
Tom Adrian kind of flagged Leicester's defensive deficiencies there in the last couple of weeks. Obviously, haven't kept a clean sheet since the opening day of the season, and you're looking at that and potentially Arsenal's weaknesses, and you think there's going to be a few goals at the King Power.
Yeah, I do. Well, I had 2 players down here, and it was Leicester +0 and the over 2.5 goals, both at similar prices, around 1.82-ish. Like both of them because, yeah, I just think I've been pretty anti-Arsenal away from home for quite a while now. Just because I don't think they've had the kind of winning mentality away from home. I think Arteta's been quite pleased to get draws in a lot of away games. We saw that at Brighton, kind of rode the luck there a bit, but showed enough resolve to get through. But I just think since Arsenal had that pretty tough run where Arteta was coming under quite a bit of pressure, they've had a fairly easy schedule since then. Burnley, Norwich, Villa, then they've had Leeds in the Cup as well. I think that does bring some confidence with it. It doesn't matter really who they're playing against. I think they showed against Villa that they're a much more confident side going forward. And even though they are 19th for XG ratio away from home this season, which is awful, I do think that they can score because I just can't be having this Leicester defence. I know you've spoken about it before.
That's not great.
With Soyuncu. who's had a bit of a nightmare, and Vestergaard too. I think with the pace that Arsenal do having Smith Rowe, Aubameyang, players like that who can really get at that defence, I do think that they will score. So I do like the overs here, because I think if you look at how Leicester are performing going forward, I watched that game against Spartak Moscow in the Europa League and they just sliced through them. I don't think they'll be as open as Spartak were for Arsenal, but I do think in the players that they've got in Vardy, who was rested midweek, Daka, Iheanacho, Barnes, who scored, Ademola Lookman, Maddison, Tielemans. They've got so many players who can cause problems for Arsenal. And yeah, I look at their kind of data, and their home games are averaging around 3.04 XG. Pretty similar away from home too. 7 of 9 have seen overs cops. So yeah, I'm not usually someone who goes for overs in Arsenal away games, but I think that with the renewed confidence in the camp, they're looking much better going forward. And I think that Leicester will go for the win under Rodgers here. I think he always likes to try get one up on the teams in and around him. I do think Leicester are fair favourites. I like them drawing a bet or +0, but I do like goals too. So happy with either of those angles.
Yeah, I think we can take both there. And if you want to get really aggressive and you fancy that Leicester City will win and there'll be a few goals, Leicester and over 2.5 is 4.0. And Leicester over 3.5 is 7.5. So there you go. Some big prices there at matchbook.com. All right, yeah, like it. Our producer, Daniel, is a big Arsenal fan, so he's not going to be very happy with either of you guys there. So we'll move on. He let us continue, so we're all good. Wolves-Everton Monday night is the fixture here. I think there's differing opinions here, but I'll go to Tom first. This is your choice, Tom. Wolves at 2.26, the Everton at 3.6, draw available at 3.35. The main handicap line is Everton plus a quarter of a goal at 1.98, and 2.25 is the total. All right, Tom, make your case here. Who should we be backing on Monday night?
I mean, I'm in the Wolves camp for this game. I've got to be honest. I just think Everton, the main thing that's kind of putting me off Everton is the loss of Decore. I think he's huge for them. I think when they've got that midfield pivot with him and Alan, it's just there's so much more quality and nous defensively as well as going forward. I think whoever comes in for him, whether it's Tom Davis or Gomez, I just think it's a real downgrade. We saw that when they had injuries in that position last season. I think without them and Calvert-Lewin up front, who's kind of, I know Rafa Benitez is a manager who likes to kind of get balls in the box. He likes to be quite physical in his approach. I think Rondon, if he's starting up front, just isn't as mobile as Calvert-Lewin. And if you're playing away from home, you do need to have someone who can kind of run the channels as well. And I don't think he can do that. So it wouldn't be a surprise if they kind of just try play on the counter here. I wouldn't be surprised if Rondon does get dropped. And maybe Richarlison comes in as more of a central figure. But I'd like Wolves here because I've been impressed with them this season and they're starting to get some results on the back of them performances. I think I'm sure you've mentioned it before in the start of the season that they were very unlucky. Better side at Leicester on opening day, and they've been good pretty much all season. And they've now won 3 of the last 4, unbeaten in them 4 as well. They've got Trincao back in the fold, so there's options with him. Hwang, who's in nice form. Pedence, Jimenez, Traore, Fabio Silva too. There's plenty of options for Wolves, and I think that at home, under the lights, I think that they'll fancy it. And I was watching that game, the Everton-Watford game, and I was quite keen on Watford to get something there because of similar reasons. You know, I think that they're not the same side without Decore and Calvert-Lewin. I think Wolves can take advantage of that defence. I mean, although Everton kind of look quite good in the data overall, I think they are regressing. They've won the XG battle in just 1 of the last 5, and that was against Norwich. So they're kind of regressing to kind of a bottom half side. I expect them both sides to finish around mid-table, to be honest. But I think at home, Wolves in decent form. They're showing that they've got a nice balance about them too. And I just think that they're going to outscore Everton because they were awful defensively against Watford. I mean, they conceded around 3.5 XG in that game, so it was a deserved loss, even if it did come late. So the bet that I've settled on is Wolves minus a quarter, around 1.94, I think it was. So anything around that, I think is good. I would have liked them +0, but that's too short to post up. But yeah, I think that if you're kind of getting a bit more on your side rather than just taking them to win here, you kind of, if it is a draw, you are getting half your stake back after all. So yeah, I do like Wolves minus a quarter here. Be interested to get Adrian's opinion.
Yeah, look, Wolves minus quarter will appear on site at minus 0.0/0.5, just in case you're looking for 0.25. Adrian, with Everton, I think you're going the other way here, but it's an interesting moment. If you looked back the last couple of weeks and you were pricing this game 3 weeks ago, do you think they'd be a lot shorter now? I wonder, is the market maybe just reacting a small bit to that big loss last week that came out of nowhere, let's be honest.
That was a mess, wasn't it? It was an absolute disaster fest, really, for the Toffees' defence. They were all over the place. But this is Rafa, and what do you think he's been working on since? I'd hazard a strong guess that there would be a heavy focus on organisation shape without the ball. They were poor, and Tom is bang on about Doucouré. He's a really good player, and he definitely makes a difference. And they are significantly weaker without him. I can't argue with that. I just feel that the Everton will not be as bad again. That they'll regroup because that's a shock to the system, conceding 5. Wolves, I just can't make my mind up about Wolves. I think I like them more than I did last season, but then they don't blow my socks off either. At home, I think they've only got 3 points, haven't they, from 4 home games? One of the worst records in the division on their own patch. So Molineux's not been great to them. They failed to score in 3 of those 4 home games as well. And they've actually, even though they've picked up some good away wins, they've been outshot in the last 4 matches. And that wasn't happening earlier in the season where, for example, against Leicester, they should have beaten Leicester, but with something to spare. So I don't know. Like Hwang, I like him. He's scoring goals. Raul Jimenez looks sharper. But they're just a middling team for me at the moment. And I think that Everton, with Richarlison up top, I think he will be used in this game up top. On the break, with Gray and Townsend having good campaigns. I do think they can cause problems. So I've picked out something. I don't think I've picked this out before. The double chance, which is available on Matchbook. You go to the other section on the match page, and the draw or Everton at 1.71. I think because it comes in at over 1.7, I'm getting the draw. I'm getting Everton, and I'm happy with that because I can't. Yeah, against the Wolves teams that hasn't been great at home, I think that's more than fair.
Yeah, and of course, look, that's actually the exact same market as Everton plus a half as well. I changed it up in your run sheet, so it's in 2 places. So some people, it's handy for some people. It's useful because some people they do get a small bit put off by the Asian handicaps. We don't, obviously, but some people do. And if you want to do the double chance there as well, that's
so it's double chance or plus 5, plus half a go, exactly. Of course it is, So look, it is a hard game to pick. I think it is a tricky one. So it's just with your own, you use your own eye test and listen to us, and whichever argument you think was more stronger, then go with it. I guess
that's exactly it. We can't always agree, and from time to time, yourself and Mark don't agree as well. So we won't put in a play there because obviously the guys made sides. We're not going to back both sides of that because it doesn't make any sense. A quick recap of the bets we have covered from the Premier League fixtures this weekend. Tottenham versus Manchester United under 3 goals at 1.73. West Ham minus 0.0, which is draw no bet at 1.82. And 2 selections from the King Power Leicester on the draw no bet market plus 0.0 at 1.8. And over 2.5 goals is Tom's selection there at 1.83, which is 5 to 6. In fractional terms, don't forget you can check out insights.matchbook.com about 2 or 3 hours post recording for a full recap of those bets. That's insights.matchbook.com for a full recap of those bets and the next set of bets that we've got coming up. Adrian Clarke, League One is the first selection from the EFL this weekend. High Flying Wycombe. they take on Fleetwood on Fleetwood's home patch. Fleetwood
Yeah.
2.14.
Yeah, I was keen to put out a couple of odds against selections here. Just to add a little bit more value, but also because I think the prices are quite good. Wickham are the form team in League One at the moment, top of the table in the last 6 games, 5 wins and a draw. They've won 6 of their last 8 matches. They're brilliant from set plays, as you'd imagine Wickham under Gareth Ainsworth to be. I think they've scored 8 goals from set pieces. And they've not been letting in many goals away from home. 8 away games, they've only conceded more than one once. So they keep things nice and tight. As for Fleetwood, they've only won 1 of their last 7. I do think they're probably in a battle to survive this season. They've had 3 home losses already, and they're not a poor side. They're not in disarray under Simon Grayson. They're capable of beating anybody on their day, but they're not in a great run. And I just feel that they're up against a superior team who, on their last visit to Highbury, because that's what it's called, the Fleetwood's ground, named after the famous Arsenal stadium. Last time they went there, they won 4-1 in the playoff semi-final, Wycombe Wanderers. So they've got happy memories of it as well. So, yeah, for me, at 2.14, the best team in the division right now against a team not playing well. I like it.
Judging by the head nodding there, Tom very much agrees with this one. So that's always a good vote of confidence. Your other selection there, Adrian, League 2, Swindon to win at Oldham's, 2.28 this one.
Yeah, again, I wanted to go odds against. And again, just looking at the home and away league tables, okay? Oldham have got slightly better of late, so that's a little caveat. I think Keith Curl sort of stabilised them a little bit. But they have the worst home record in League 2, 4 points from 7 games. Who has the joint best away record? It's Swindon, who actually, weirdly, don't seem to be able to win at home at the moment. They're a good team, but keep drawing at home or losing narrow games. But, yeah, they've had 17 points from their 7 games on the road. Absolutely brilliant. They're far more comfortable there. They've averaged almost 2 goals a game away from home as well. So, again, it's you look at that and you think, well, they should probably be a little bit shorter than that, Swindon Town. So for me, I think they've gone to better teams, far better teams, and won away from the county ground this season. I think they're more than capable of going to Boundary Park and bringing home the 3 points.
All right, good stuff. Tom Love, Bradford City fan that you are, you'll be at Valley Parade on Saturday. And like any good fan, if you go to a game, your chances are you're going to have a bet. So what is the bet in Bradford Forest Green?
Well, I don't usually like betting on my own side in any market, to be honest, but I can't really ignore this, just taking my Bradford City glasses off completely, and it's both teams to score. I'm not sure if it's up on site yet, but I think it's around 1.83 on the high street, so I think anything above 1.8 is decent value here. Over 2.5 trading at odds against, which was also an interesting angle because Derek Adams at home, we just go for it. Go for every game. If you look at the results on paper, it's been pretty average, to be honest. We did lose our first game at home against Hartlepool. A lot of kind of talk on social media after that, like saying just how bad it was. Hartlepool were excellent in that game, to be fair to them, and deserved the win. But Bradford are creating the best XG at home, 2.12 per game, which is excellent. The process has been really good at Valley Parade, just failing to kind of have that clinical edge. But Adrian just mentioned Swindon at home. Bradford took advantage of that. We beat them 3-1. And it was an interesting change in formation from Adams there. He went with 2 up top and kind of a diamond midfield. Charles Vernon, who's been the best player for Bradford this season by quite a bit from an attacking standpoint, he was dropped, and they played Keelan Lavery up front with Andy Cook and just got Lavery to do all the dirty work. And Cook, he needs that kind of someone up there with him after Lee Angol went off injured a month or so ago. And yeah, they've been looking more of a goal threat. They've scored in every home game this season, but they have conceded in all but one game at Valley Parade, and that was against Rochdale. I went to that game and Rochdale missed a couple of sitters, so it should really be both teams to score landing in every Bradford game. But yeah, I fancy them to score. But Forest Green, top of the table, and rightly so. Very consistent, very good away side. They've scored 2 or more in 5 of 7 away. I really like some of their players. I like the system with the wing backs with Wilson and Nicky Cadden getting really far forward. They'll be causing some problems. Big Jamil Matt up front, Stevens, Ebu Adams in midfield. They've got plenty of quality, but I just think they're going to meet the match here. I think it's going to be a game where both sides score. And yeah, if you're getting above 1.8 on BTTS, really like that angle.
Yeah, speaking of which, obviously, look, this is Thursday morning. We're recording this. Is 1.78 on site, but this might not surprise anyone that both teams to score markets on League Two. Wait for those ones. We generally tell people to bet early in the week, but for definitely with the exchange, you will get a better price, probably about closer to 1.85. So, but we don't want to misquote the price. It is currently 1.78 on Thursday morning. Before we get to best bet section, as ever, if you are liking this content and you're watching us on YouTube, please click the thumbs up button and also click the subscribe button. If you're listening on your podcast, please give us a preferential review if you're enjoying the content. Adrian Clarke, your best bet this weekend. You're dipping back into the Premier League, a game we didn't cover.
Yeah. Are we not doing, was there going to be another one from Europe, or are we going straight to...
No, that's actually in the best bets. Don't give the game away. That's there.
I shouldn't contradict you, should I? You know what you're doing. Yes. Do you know what? My favourite bet today is West Ham. Draw no bet. I think that I just can't see them losing at Villa. So that would be my selection of the ones we picked. But yeah, this one stood out. Burnley against Brentford. Now, 3 or 4 matches at Turf Moor this season have gone under 2.5, and 3 or 4 for Brentford on the road have gone under 2.5. On both counts, the other game was just 3 goals. So there's a sort of pattern set. I just think stylistically, this is a game that kind of where they even themselves out a little bit. Now, Brentford are causing havoc by going long to Ivan Toney for the flick-ons, to Mbremo, and every time they put a ball in the box, opponents are having kittens. That they're giving Premier League teams something new to think about, and it's kind of working. Burnley, I think they're okay with that. I think that's the type of football that they're comfortable dealing with their big centre halves and whatnot. So I think that they can sort of tame Brentford a little bit, and the same at the other end. I mean, Burnley are not in great form, are they, going forward? Not creating that many chances, and Brentford's defence, I think, has by and large been excellent. Okay, Leicester picked them off the other day, but overall, I think they've acquitted themselves fabulously. So yeah, it just feels to me like this is a game that'll be like a rough and tumble championship game in a way, where we won't see that much quality, and we could a lot of the game will be about aggression and second balls and all that sort of nonsense. So for that reason, I think it could be tight, 0-0, 1-0 either way, 1-1 potentially.
Yeah.
So that's the way I'm going, and yeah, I just thought it was a standout fixture from the Premier League that we weren't covering.
Yeah, 0-0 is 10.0. Might be having a look at that, even if it gets a small bigger, maybe 11 or 12. So yeah, the European bet is your top selection from Ligue 1. Tom Love, Brest against Monaco, both teams to score. Brest haven't won a game this year. I don't think you're fancying that they'll win this either, but you do feel that they'll get on the score sheet against that Kovac's side.
Yeah, they've not won this season, but they've scored in every game, which is a bizarre stat. But it's meant that both teams to score has landed in all 11 Brest games this season. And for anyone who's kind of savvy with Ligue 1, they'll be aware that the manager, Michel de Zakarian, came from Montpellier in the summer, and his Montpellier side last season were very high scoring. They were very poor defensively. They were great for goal backers, over 2.5. Both teams to score was landing every week pretty much for Montpellier last season, and he's brought that ethos with him up to Brest. And yeah, I look at their defence and it's woeful. I think Monaco could have a bit of a field there, but I think that with the players that Brest do have going forward, I mean, Romain Fèvre, the winger, is being linked with plenty of big clubs. You'll hear more about him in the coming years. French under-21 international, really good from set pieces. And then they've got Steve Mounier, who was at Huddersfield a couple of years ago, big physical striker, threat in the box. Ivan Cardona, and Frank Honorat as well. Good players going forward, and I think that they can score, because Monaco, even though they're really starting to click going forward, I've not been sold on them defensively this season. They were another team that were really good to back for goals last season. But yeah, as I mentioned, they're starting to get into the groove. Wissam Ben Yedder and Kevin Volland both on the score sheet against Montpellier last week. But they did concede there. They just look a bit erratic at the back, I think. It's quite a young defence, and the wing-backs get really far forward. That's Cao Enrique. So they do leave gaps, and I think where Brest can really capitalise is behind them full-backs with the likes of Fevre and Cardona, if they're both fit. So yeah, both teams to score. It's been a cash cow for Brest this season. And although Monaco are fair favourites, I'm more than happy to back the BTTS around 1.82. I think that's a great price. I'd have it closer to 1.7.
All right, chat. 1.82 is the Tom's top selection for this week. Brest and Monaco at 1.82. Both teams to score. All right. Tom, appreciate it. Thanks for stepping in for Mark this week. Very much appreciate it. No doubt we will see you again at some stage. Mark will be back next week. He'll be a bit blushy, tired looking, I would imagine, but he'll be fine. He'll be absolutely fine. Adrian, enjoy the King Power on Saturday afternoon, mate.
Will do. Yeah, look, my only advice to Mark is be organised. Be organised. All of this football that he needs to watch, when you've got a little baby in the house, it is tough. So, yeah, good. I wish him the very best of luck. But yeah, he'll put it in. I'm sure of that. He'll put the hours in.
Yeah, when the child after about 3 or 4 years is referencing, like we said, all those leagues and XG and stuff, we'll know why this is occurring. All right, guys, a lot of fun as ever. We'll be back next Thursday with Mark back on board. One more week then after that to another international break, final international break. Thanks be to God of 2021. Tom, thanks again, bud. Thank you for watching today. Thank you for listening. Again, if you like the content, please leave us preferential reviews on your podcast app or on YouTube as well. We'll be back again next Thursday, as I said, and goodbye for now.